All right, real quick, I want to do a video on in-season training specifically to wrestlers, okay? So a lot of these principles will pertain to all sports across the board, but each sport has its own hurdles, its own set of circumstances you have to work around or through to get through the season and come out at the end the best that they can. So for wrestlers, in-season training, for all sports, in-season training is going to be crucial, but for wrestlers, there's a couple of things I wanted to just talk about and work through here. So in-season training, the first thing is wrestling is number one. It takes priority, right? So that's for all sports. When you're in season, your sport takes priority. But with that said, to be the best at your sport, you need to get some training done in season. Now, what a lot of guys do is they screw it up because they do one of two things. They either go and they try to maintain an off-season training program through the season, or they try to they don't try to do anything. They actually just completely drop the training part out of the equation altogether. Now you need to find the balance between the two. That's why we say in season we drop the kids down. We really only want them here once or twice a week. You know, some weeks they might not get any. There might be a week where they have 3-4 matches. Maybe they don't get any workouts in. Maybe they get a really light training session in. Maybe a week they don't have anything. They get 2 or 3 training sessions in. But on average, 1 to 2 training sessions a week is what we're looking for. We're not trying to maintain the off-season 3-4 days a week type of thing in season. Because a season is pretty long, so 3 to 4 months of the season means 12 to 16 weeks of, if you don't train at all, you're going to miss training for 12 to 16 weeks. Now, strength and explosiveness and any type of athletic quality begins to diminish when it's not touched on for 7 to 21 days. So you could do the math and figure out how long you could take without doing stuff till you start to see a real decrease. Depending upon the athlete and the athletic quality, that's when that stuff will start to peter off, okay? Now, for wrestlers, it's a strength and power-based sport. So you don't want to train all year to become as strong and as explosive and powerful as possible, only to let it diminish a couple weeks into the season. And now this is really important too, because for wrestlers, they're cutting weight. A lot of them are cutting weight, right? It's a weight class sport. When you start to cut weight and you're cutting calories and you're dehydrating yourself and you're practicing every day, the season will grind on you. And if you don't try to maintain a few training sessions a week, it'll beat you down and you'll be back weaker than when you started training off season, basically, right? So because of the weight cutting and all that, you need to maintain a little bit of training. Now, we don't try to maintain 100%. Most kids, well, let me rephrase this. Our strongest athletes probably aren't going to be maintaining 90. They're not going to be maintaining 100% or building strength in the season, but we can maintain about 90% pretty easily. Okay, it doesn't take a lot of work to maintain 90% of your strength, and that's really what we're looking for to do with our top strongest guys. Now, if you're newer to training, you could maintain 100%, if not get stronger. So guys that are newer to training, maybe they're wrestling JV, they've only been training for maybe a couple months or a year or so, they could still keep getting stronger throughout the year. But our guys that are in here have been here for years. Let's say they're 17 years old. They've been here since they were 11. They have a 500-pound or 450-pound deadlift. That's probably not going to get maintained through the season, especially if they're cutting weight. But we can maintain 90% or so, which is the goal. Okay, we train with the end of the season in mind. We want to be the best athlete possible, the best wrestler possible at the end of the season in March. First weekend of March every year as states. That's where we want to be the best. We got a couple guys in the gym that should be able to place, if not win, a state championship, and we want to be the best possible wrestlers in March, the first weekend of March, not the first weekend of December, right? So keep that in mind. We're not trying to peak for December. We're trying to actually train, and maybe give ourselves a break right before states, and then boom, we're into states, and we hit states on the ground running, right? We're at our peak there. I tell the guys all the time, communicate with us, be flexible, plan ahead. So planning ahead, that means if you know you have a big project coming up and you know you're not going to be able to get in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe you need to get in Monday. Just common sense, right? Be flexible. Again, there might be a week where you don't get any training sessions in, but there might be a week where you can get an extra one in, right? So be flexible like that. But just try to get 1 or 2 in a week. It's not that hard. We always try to make sure that the guys, I always ask the guys, this is basically all year round, but especially during the season, how you feeling? How is the game? How is the match? Communicate. How's your leg? How's your this? How's that? If they're banged up, let us know. We could help them feel better with those things if they just communicate with us. The goal here is not to crush them into a hard training session in season. It's to make sure that they are maintaining themselves, that they're taking care of themselves, and that we're going to be, firing on all cylinders in March. Again, wrestling takes number one priority. Another thing I wanted to just touch on, you could see Rob over my corner here. We just got his fat head up on the wall from winning states last year. But a kid like him, if you're a really good wrestler, you're not going to be getting a lot of good matches in throughout the year. In fact, he was unscored upon through the year last year. So how many good matches was he in before he got into states? 0. Now, if you're going to high school that has a really tough schedule, you might get a few. But for the most part, our top guys, top couple guys, aren't getting a lot of good matches throughout the year. So that's just another reason why they need to maintain themselves physically and be ready to go come March. Because if they're not pushing themselves in the weight room, they're not getting pushed at practice most likely by their teammates, because there's probably not a lot of guys on the team that can keep up with them. Or they're not getting a lot of good matches in. You need to keep yourself sharp physically, mentally, and training is one of the ways to do it. Again, we're not trying to beat them down. We're just trying to make sure that we're getting through the season the best shape possible, and we're hitting our peak fitness, we're hitting our peak strength, power, all that stuff. We're peaking that out. Technique, everything is going to be firing on all cylinders in March. So the way to do that is not to take off 3 months before state starts. It means you got to try to maintain this for March. Now, one more thing. A lot of times the first couple weeks of the season, even though a lot of guys are wrestling all year, a lot of the guys on the team aren't. So a lot of guys are out of shape. The coaches are going to beat them up the first weeks of the season with conditioning. Remember that. If you're dying from those workouts, come in, tell us. We'll be even easier. We just want to be able to maintain a little bit and just try to work our way through that. As the practices lighten up, as the season starts up, you might be able to train a little bit harder again. But like I said, you have to be flexible. That's the key. You have to be flexible and go with the waves up and down of the season. That's how we get through the season the way we want to get through it, and that's how we get to the end of the season trying to be at our best. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'll help you work through this in any way that I can help.